So, Michael, Jesus Real and Revealed, where did you go this morning?
Oh, we had a great time. We was looking at lots of non-Christian sources like Tacitus and Josephus. So some people probably were surprised that I didn't start off looking at the Bible, that we looked at these sources, but those really helped us to see that actually there's lots of information out there that proved Jesus was real, existed, lived and walked, even from sources that really didn't really like Christians.
More evidence than there is for Julius Caesar, apparently.
Really?
So they say.
Interesting.
Part of the Alpha course says that at the beginning.
Very good. Then we also looked at Luke's Gospel, right at the start of Luke's Gospel, where Luke talks about he made an orderly account asking eyewitnesses. So it wasn't just somebody sitting in a room that decided to dream up a gospel.
Okay. So that this need for the story to be earthed in something significant, importance, so that the fact that someone writes from a non-Christian perspective saying something spectacular happened here, something important happened here, gives added kudos to what the Gospels are saying, do you think?
Yes.
So how does that affect the way that we should read them then?
That's a hard question.
I think in the sense, what I think I'm getting at is the sense that because these other people are saying this remarkable man happened, does that not draw attention to the importance of the story as the Christians received it? Because ultimately, I think we assume that the Gospel writers, in compiling their accounts, were dealing with information provided by people who were there.
Yes.
Right? And they also present the Gospel in a way that there is the obvious parts where Jesus makes a real impact, as well as the place where people walk away. So there's a reality and authenticity to the story. It's not just an attempt to create a great figure and say everything was hunky-dory and wonderful. There are those elements of people who walked away, which
definitely
somehow to me make the story more real than if it was all crystal clear and certain and everything.
Very real and very gritty.
Yeah.
So I went with John's Gospel in the prologue, this fantastic passage, beginning was the word, to talk about this how we can make sense of the reality Jesus who is fully human and fully divine. And there, in a sense, something of our core message, isn't it? That those two elements coming together are what makes Jesus different to all the rest.
Definitely. And I think the problem is very often in our day and age, we're happy with Jesus being God, or at least some people are, but really struggle with the idea that Jesus was a real human being and actually, bled if you cut him. He was real flesh and blood like us.
So how can we get that message across? How can we speak to the people beyond the church and say this is a real figure? What do we need to do to make them see that Jesus is much more than some mythological creation?
Wow, that's a hard question. But obviously, like I've said, I'm looking at different non-Christian accounts that really hated Christians, that accounts people that used Christians as an excuse for setting fire to Rome, like Nero did. Blame the Christians. So the Romans and Josephus, people like that, wasn't really fans of Christianity, but yet spoke about the reality of Jesus and the reality of the early church.
And does the fact that we believe Jesus to be human and divine, does that make it easy to talk in terms of the miraculous, you think? Does that make that something that people can perhaps grasp hold of better than if he was purely mythological?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, each different gospel takes a different viewpoint of Jesus. If you take Luke's gospel, for instance, he's very much that Jesus couldn't do anything without the empowerment of the Holy Spirit. And that when you get to the book of Acts, obviously, the early church, they waited for this Holy Spirit to be given to them so that they could do the same things as Jesus.
And do you think we in the church make enough of this nature where it is both one and the other at the same time, or do we tend to perhaps try and make it easy for ourselves by dealing with this is the God side, this is the human side, and not really bringing them together?
I don't know whether we do that, but certainly I get a feel sometimes that our church people probably focused a lot on the divine, and not enough on Jesus actually being a walking, talking human being that got sand in between his toes and bled if you could.
Is that the problem of it happening 2,000 years ago, do you think?
Maybe so.
That we've lost that immanence because it's not that he's, in one sense, walked our streets, though we believe that he does, and therefore it's much harder to sort of think of him in tangible terms, because he's so removed from where we are now.
I think that's why it's helpful sometimes, isn't it, to put stuff on PowerPoints or something of the real places, showing real places that Jesus went, and then people's eyes are a little bit open to, oh, this is real? This actually took place? This actually is located somewhere?
But isn't there then a problem that people's pictures of Jesus are skewed? We tend to see him as European. He wasn't.
True.
You know, and it's how we get that authenticity without losing sight of what we're really about.